Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV, More Than Meets the Third Eye. I'm your host, Queen AhmadiyyahShakur. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and like the video, okay? Please get those likes up. You can't share it because this is for members only. All right, so let's see who's in here. Hey, Juju, Tia, okay. Mr. Hotel says shout out to our esoteric philosopher. Thank you, beloved. All right, Alice is here. Okay. Juju said purple means royal, and we are the loyal royals. Yes, you absolutely are, beloved. And purple is my favorite color. Purple and gold. Okay, I love it. Okay, Andrea's in here. Tia. Okay, Alice Childs. Okay, so shout out to everyone that's tuned in. Now let's get ready to get into it. Hey, Kathy B, Myth King, the Dean. All right. Claudette is here. And also for you all, I sent you your links in your emails. If you haven't checked them yet, I sent you the links for not only this live, but for the public live that's going to start at 6:15 p.m. You all may have already seen it. You likely should have, because that's a video that I showed you all back in March. Okay, so everyone will be able to see it today. Hey, Andrea, beloved. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. Hundia, I see you, beloved. And let me just say this. For those of you who have been waiting patiently on your ebooks, I promise to send them out tonight. It may be late because I actually have 2 of them to do. I got behind, so I owe you one for the month of July, and then tomorrow is August the 1st. So I have to give you the one for August. I'm not going to get behind again, so I'm going to get both of those completed tonight, and the second one, I'm done with the first one, but the second one, I'm going to get that one finished tonight, and then I'll send them to you, okay? With that all being said, Juju said the queen is queening. Thank you, beloved. So with that all being said, I know you all are going to enjoy these because one of them is full of little spiritual gems and little bits of information and things you can do to help you along your spiritual journey. Okay? So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen because I have a PowerPoint presentation. We're going to be talking about near-death experiences and life after death. And also, I'm going to show you all an interview from Richard Lawson that I told you about on the other channel. Richard Lawson had a near-death experience, and he talked about it on Oprah. Now, of course, I can't show Oprah's video, so what I did is I'm going to play the audio, but I added the audio to a video that I created of scenes from the wreckage and the day that everything happened. Okay, so let's get into it. And this is only part 1. Tomorrow we'll have part 2 of this. Okay, so with that all being said, everyone get those likes up. Let's get into it. I'm about to share the screen. Near-death experiences and life after death. So NDEs, that's what they call near-death experiences. Okay, They came to the attention of the general public in the last quarter of the 20th century from the work of physicians and psychologists in particular. Okay, Raymond Moody, who coined the term near-death experience in his 1975 bestseller, Life After Death, and then Bruce M. Grayson, one of the two researchers on the study mentioned earlier, who also published the Handbook of Near-Death Experiences in 2009. So that's where that term came from. Now, noticing patterns in what people would share about their near-death experiences or the stories that they would tell after they had these situations, these researchers turned a phenomenon once derided as confabulation or dismissed as feverish hallucination. Okay, deathbed visions of yore. That's what people said back then. They didn't really believe that these people, experienced near death and that they saw a light in a tunnel or ancestors or past relatives coming to greet them. People didn't believe it. They thought they were hallucinating because of illness that they may have had or things like that. But they brought this into a field of empirical study. Now, near-death experiences have gotten a lot of attention lately. The 2014 movie Heaven is for Real, about a young boy who told his parents that he visited heaven while he was having emergency surgery. Okay, it grossed a respectable $91 million in the United States. Now, the book it was based on was published in 2010. It has sold some 10 million copies and spent 206 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. Okay, two recent books by doctors, Proof of Heaven by Eben Alexander, who writes about a near-death experience he had while in a week-long coma brought on by meningitis, and To Heaven and Back by Mary C. Neal, who had her near-death experience while submerged in a river after a kayaking incident. Now, those stories have spent 94 to 36 weeks respectively on the list. The subject of The Boy Who Came Back from Heaven, published in 2010, recently admitted that they made it all up. Now, isn't that something? Isn't that something? How many of you saw that movie? Let me stop the share for a second. How many of you actually saw that movie, Heaven is for Real? Once in the chat, if you actually saw that movie or read the book, Heaven is for Real. Anybody see that? Anybody see that? That was a good story. Okay, they made it all up. Clearly a clout chase. Clearly lying. But these things really do happen. But the thing I find interesting, you see, these people were smart because that story was convincing. Okay, they had me. I literally believed it. Now, the reason I believed it so much so is because the little boy who told this story was a little white boy, and he said that Jesus that he met was black. Now, he didn't just come out and say he was black, but the way they depicted the hand that he held on to, because he said Jesus came to him and held his hand or whatever, and they showed a black person's hand. It wasn't a white person. So when they said that, that's what made me believe it. I said, hold on now, this little white boy wouldn't lie and say Jesus is black, would he? But they made it all up. And you see, that just goes to show that they really believe that the Savior is black. Because that's why they told him to say that. Because that made it all the more convincing. Okay, that made it all the more convincing. Okay, so that was a slick little scam that they ran. They made all that money off the movie and the book. Okay, very interesting to find. When I found out that it wasn't even real, honey, they made the whole thing up. But at the end of the day, it was still a good movie, nonetheless, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so let's go back to the share. Now, a recent review of research in the characteristic changes following near-death experiences found the most commonly reported to be loss of fear of death. That's one of the things that when people have a near-death experience, when they survive and they come back, they no longer fear death. Okay? And that's likely because they realize that death is just an illusion, that it's just another life. It's not the end of a life, it's the beginning of a new one. And that's just what they seem to realize, obviously. Now, strengthening belief in the life after death, feeling specially favored by God, a new sense of purpose or mission. See, this is what people feel. If you come back from a near-death experience, you would have to feel, okay, that God let you live for a reason. There was some reason that you made it back. Okay? Now, and they also feel like they need to get their life together. Many times people feel like, oh, I got to get my life together. I can't keep sitting and doing these things that I'm doing. I've got to do a better job. I'm here for a reason. Now I need to find my purpose. That's what some people, start to figure out once they have these experiences. Now, it may be that perhaps God gives them these experiences just so they can realize these things before it's too late. Maybe God's trying to shake them up, rattle them up, and wake them up so that they realize, hey, you're just letting your life go by. You're not doing anything. Your life is mundane. You're not, maximizing your potential. You're not trying to find your goals and dreams. And so I need to scare you so you can get yourself together. Sometimes, maybe that's what it is, okay? You ever saw that show with the bad kids who get into trouble, the teenagers, and their parents send them off to jail? It's called Scared Straight. Maybe sometimes the Most High needs to scare some of us straight. Pay attention. Now, a new sense of purpose or a mission is what they may have when they come back. Heightened self-esteem, increased compassion, and love for others. You see, these people come back, and I would imagine most of them are a whole lot better people when they get here, okay? When they come back and realize that they could have been gone. Pay attention. Now, how important is it? Let me increase the font on this, because I can barely see it, so I know you all can't really see it. And I'm wearing glasses. Okay, now, how important is it to know something of what may happen to us should we survive physical death? See, I have the impression that for the majority of Westerners, such a question hardly arises. Unlike many other cultures, including our own, up to half a century or so ago, modern Western society has largely entered a state of denial about death. We know that it occurs, but are insulated from its reality. Most people die in the hospital, so we rarely have to watch the dying process in detail. We really don't usually sit by the bedside of someone who's dying and hear their last words. We usually get a call and the hospital tells us, or the doctor will say, the person has passed. That's usually how that goes. Now, advances in medicine have meant that death occurs less and less frequently before old age. So it has become less of a source of ever-present anxiety. And perhaps most importantly of all, large numbers of the population have turned their backs upon organized religion and upon the lessons of life and death that religion teaches. You see, a lot of people are waking up to the whole thing. Years ago, a lot of our parents and grandparents and us as children, we were taught that you live and you die, and if you didn't do what you were supposed to do while you're here, you're going to hell. And you're going to burn in internal fires, fire and brimstone, the gnashing of teeth, and all of that. It sounds real scary. They were trying to scare us straight when they told us that story. Pay attention. They were trying to scare us straight to make you do what you're supposed to do. And that if you do good and you are a nice person and you're a good person and you love God and you are kind to others and go to church, then you'll go to heaven. But as I've told you, at the end of the day, the only thing after this is another life, and that's in the spiritual realm. Now, if you didn't complete the task here on this life, well, maybe you'll come back reincarnated, or maybe you'll be caught in limbo. You see, I think that some of the times when people see spirits, and angry spirits, right? Sometimes you see peaceful ones that may have just come to visit, give you a warning or whatever, like the ancestors. But sometimes when people see these angry spirits, like demons, and I'm not saying that they're demons, I'm saying these angry spirits. I think there's a difference between these angry spirits and or disembodied spirits and demons. But when you see these angry spirits that come back, like poltergeist or whatever, I happen to think that perhaps they were caught in limbo. Maybe they didn't make it into the spiritual realm for whatever reason, and now they're trapped. They're between this realm and that one. And so they're angry because they want to go to one or the other. And I think that is perhaps, what happens to them. I don't know. What do you all think? This is just my own opinion. Hellfire and brimstone didn't scare me at all, said Ahmadiyyah. Well, Ahmadiyyah, that's likely because you're nefarious already. And being as nefarious as you are, that probably didn't even make you blink an eye, beloved. Andrew said, yes, I totally agree. I'm just messing with Hundia. No, but seriously, I think that sometimes people may be caught in limbo. You know, like they are not going into the spiritual realm, like I said, and then they may have to come back here to finish some work or whatever, but they may not want to come back. And the fact that they're still here or just stuck and not able to enter the spiritual realm makes them angry. That's what I absolutely think. What do you all think about that? Has anybody in the chat had any near-death experiences? Claudette says you believe it, okay. Has anyone in the chat had any near-death experiences? No? Alice Child says, I agree with you. Thank you, beloved. Thank you. Okay, so let me start back the share. So, and they talk about how some people have strayed away from what religion teaches. Because a lot of that stuff was just meant to scare us, like I said. Now, yet as death, our own and that of others, is associated inescapably with life, psychological health. Psychological health would seem to require that we learn to face and relate to the challenges with which death presents us, just as we learn to face and relate to those presented by life. Now, furthermore, the concepts that we hold of death are likely to influence, often profoundly, our ideas on the meaning and purpose of life, as well as our value systems, our self-concepts, and our attitudes to our fellow beings, and to bereavement and to human relationships. And first and foremost of the challenges presented by death is the question of whether the self exists after physical death, followed by the question of what, if it does exist, might the existence be like? Now, my view of that, and many others who are familiar with the literature and who have researched relevant pre-death experiences and the communications ostensibly from the deceased, the evidence that the self does exist after death is impressive. You see, there is evidence of this. Members of the Society for Psychical Research and other investigators began to collect the data concerned over 120 years ago and have been adding to them ever since, because more and more information is unfolding. More and more people are having these experiences and coming out and talking about it. Now, the very great majority of those who summarily dismiss the case for survival have omitted to study this evidence and have shown little interest in remedying the omission. Perhaps we should ask with respect that they become familiar with it before venturing to publish high-profile opinions on the matter. You see, because there are some scientists and psychologists who absolutely don't believe that there's life after death, and then they write stuff about it, articles and stuff like that, you know, saying that it's just all hallucinations or the people are having lucid dreams, things like that. That's because they haven't studied it extensively enough to know that if they put the pieces of the puzzle together, it all makes sense. Okay, and there's a likely probability that the people who have gone through this absolutely are telling the truth. Now, some people are just, what's the word I want to use? Some people just are doubters. You know, they don't believe things that don't sound realistic. And what I find interesting about that is, just like when I was talking about UFOs on the other channel today. Some people don't believe in UFOs because it sounds crazy to them. It sounds, you know, like something made up. They can't fathom it. But I find it interesting because some of those same people believe every little word that's in the Bible. They believe that Jonah was swallowed by a whale and stayed in the belly of the whale for 3 days. Okay? They believe that Daniel was in the lion's den and the lions' mouths were shut so they couldn't eat him. They believe that Noah took all of those animals and people onto the ark. They believe these things, which sound so fantastical, but yet they don't believe in other things that make much more sense. Okay? Now, the evidence comes, in fact, from 4 sources. The first source is from those people who are approaching death, and then the second is from those who have clinically died, but who are resuscitated and return to tell the tale. The third is from those who have clinically died and who do not return. And the fourth, well, that's from the great spiritual traditions of both East and West. Our ancestors have, you know, before they passed away, they told these stories to their children. And then some of their children have told these stories to their children, and so on and so forth. Now, you may think that they were making these things up, or how could they possibly know? But just keep listening. Now, Dr. Peter Fenwick, in his presentation, Wider Human Consciousness as Shown by Death and Dying, Wider Human Consciousness as Shown by Death and Dying, dealt with the first two of these sources. And all that is left for me to add is, firstly, the fact that people approaching death through the lucid and drug-free frequently greet with joy deceased relatives and friends who seem to have arrived in order to accompany them on their journey to the next life. This is what he says. That's not me talking. That's what Dr. Peter Fenwick says. He says that if the people are drug-free, because that discounts the hallucinations that some people think that they're having. When you take hallucinogenic drugs or psychedelic drugs and things like that, yeah, you could absolutely think that you had a near-death experience and just, have something in your mind because of the drugs and the effect they had on you. But when it's a person who has not taken any drugs, okay, and they're not having a lucid dream, and then they can come back and tell you specific details, well, such as saying that they saw deceased relatives coming to greet them and things like that. See, the reason you should believe this stuff is because there's numerous of people who've said these same things. These people don't know each other. And I know now we can say, well, you could have seen that on TV. They could have read in a book. Well, this is true. But they've been doing this research for 120 years. So years and years ago, decades ago, they didn't have this stuff on TV and on the internet. They didn't have internet and all of that stuff. So how are these different people who didn't know each other from different walks of life telling these similar stories? Okay? So that makes it believable to me, just that alone. But nevertheless, there's other ways, like I told you. And so secondly, that those who have clinically died and who return from near-death experiences report returning to their physical bodies, okay, with great reluctance. Like they weren't too sure they wanted to get back in that body. Okay? Typically describing the experience as akin to slipping into wet clay. That's what some of them have described it as. Now, and if you think about that movie Poltergeist, didn't they slip into, the little girl or somebody slip into something slimy or something like that? I haven't seen that movie in such a long time, but it seems like I remember something vaguely like that. Now, thirdly, that follow-up studies such as those of Professor Ken Ring from 1984, they suggest strongly that the near-death experiences apparently produces a long-term increase in spiritual beliefs and removes the fear of death. Now, these three facts, in addition to supporting the case for survival, suggest that the afterlife may not be without its attractions, at least for some, but it is to people who have died and not returned, that we need to turn to for more details as its exact nature. Now, communications, hold on, let me get this together, beloveds. This is what happens when you're in a hurry. Now, communications from people who have died and not returned can be in the form of spontaneous messages to relatives or friends, like in your dreams, okay, in connection with apparitions or with disembodied voices, or even with seemingly meaningful movement of objects, or in the forms of messages through mediums who claim to be able to act as channels between this world and the next. Now, I don't know if you all believe in mediums, but I absolutely do believe that there are some people who can absolutely communicate with the deceased. Okay, just like there are psychics who can predict things. I myself have prophetic dreams and can predict things. So I absolutely believe that there's some people who can communicate with those who've already left and entered into the spiritual realm. I maybe could do it if I tried, but I've never tried to. But the evidence of spontaneous communications, of course, usually anecdotal, though not always, but in some cases information is given that is unknown to those present and that is found on investigation to be correct. Okay, after they conduct an investigation, they find out that the medium knew what they were talking about. Okay, There was a psychic, she's passed now, but her name was Sylvia Brown. Sylvia Brown was full of BS, okay? I never believed anything she said, and in fact, because I'm very intuitive myself, I would know when she was lying about stuff. Do you all remember that time she lied about the miners? I think there was 12 of them. There was miners trapped. They had been working, and they were trapped, okay? And she started saying all this stuff like she just knew what was going on and everything, and she was completely wrong. And then when she was called out on it, she tried to twist it around and act like that's not what she meant when she said what she said. She was a whole fraud. Montel Williams used to love to bring her on the show. That lady didn't know what she was talking about. And somebody would tell her, oh, my grandmother passed away. Could you give me a message from her? Yes, your grandmother. She's standing right beside you. She said she wants you to be careful. She wants you to do things that you're supposed to do and to follow your goals and dreams. Lady, that's something anyone could tell her. That meant nothing to me. And like I said, when it came to big stories and big predictions, she would often be wrong, okay? She was just full of crap. But like I said, if you're talking to someone and they're supposedly a medium talking to you about a past loved one, and they start telling you something that you know to be true, and you didn't tell them this prior, and they don't know anyone whom you know that could have told them, then absolutely, obviously, they're getting this from their relative, right? You know, so that's how you can decipher when someone is actually using a spiritual gift as opposed to someone who's being fraudulent like Sylvia Brown. The information that is given is unknown to those present and that is found on investigation to be correct. And it is therefore the evidence through mediums that has commanded particular research attention. Now, mediumship is regarded with understandable suspicion by those with no direct experience of the phenomenon. But steps can be taken by researchers to establish if an individual medium deserves to be taken seriously. Now, the two most readily available of these steps involve ascertaining, the first thing is this, whether or not the information given through the medium and ostensibly from the deceased is correct and could not have been known to the medium at any time or at that time. Second is whether such correct information can be forthcoming, even if the person consulting the medium, usually referred to as the sitter, is acting as a proxy for an absent individual unknown to the medium. That's how you can tell if the medium really knows what they're talking about. Now, number one, whether the information given, I'm sorry, I don't know why I put this on here twice, my mistake, but let me continue. Now, although we can regard much mediumship, though not intended consciously to deceive, as of doubtful value, many of the leading mediums of the past, such as Lenora Piper, Gladys Leonard, Eileen Garrett, and Geraldine Cummins. Okay, they've produced good evidence even when both the above steps have been taken and when those investigating their gifts have been highly experienced researchers. Now, research has also shown that criticism to the effect that communications through mediums are so general that they would apply virtually to everyone is not viable. See, that's why Sylvia Brown was never viable to me. The stuff that she was saying could have applied to anyone. Okay, it was very vague. She never gave any serious specifics. Okay. Now, for example, Roy and Robertson in 2001 have shown that sitters are able to identify with odds of thousands to one against chance those communications, or against chance communications intended for them from those intended for other sitters, even in experiments where mediums and sitters are blind to each other and where sitters are known to mediums only as numbers. Now, Professor David Fontana says the descriptions themselves are far too numerous for him to do more than mention briefly the information contained in a few of them. But he's tried to provide more extensive details. Now, he has a book, and he also has some publications in peer-reviewed journals that came out in 2008 where you can get more information. But he emphasizes that at no point is anything that he has intended, or I'm sorry, anything that he said intended as dogma. His intention is simply to present a snapshot of the information as they have it, and it is very much up to the reader to decide on its credibility. Okay, now shortage of space means that he cannot go beyond the snapshot, and he regrets having to look fleetingly at so many profound and important issues. And some of this stuff is in his book as well. Now, evidence of this nature helps lend credibility to the mediumistic gift, and at face value allows us to turn to the descriptions of the afterlife obtained through mediums with a measure of confidence. This confidence is strengthened by the fact that there is an impressive degree of consistency between the various descriptions. Now, the descriptions themselves are far too numerous for them to do more than mention briefly the information contained in a few of them. But, like I said, he tried to give specific details. Now, he must emphasize that at no point, I'm sorry, some of this stuff is on here twice. Sorry about that. But anyway, with that all being said, I absolutely believe that people have near-death experiences and they see the light and they see people greeting them and things like that. And I also have heard numerous stories, and we'll get into some of those tomorrow. Hey, Emma's blessed. I remember her saying Hillary Clinton was going to be president one day on a radio show. Hillary ran, but she didn't win. See, that's what I'm saying. She just was a whole fluke, a fraud, a scam. You know what I'm saying? And Montel had her on there promoting her. I don't know why he thought that lady was serious, because it was obvious to me that she was full of crap. Okay, yeah, she did say Hillary was going to be president. So anyway, with that all been said, like I was telling you all, we'll get more into the stories that people have told. There was one guy, he told a story that I thought was scary. I'm going to try to find that video. I saw this a few years ago. He said that, and this was a black guy, he said that he actually says he saw the devil, okay, or what he thought was the devil. So we'll get into that tomorrow. Emma's blessed said, I agree, being vague is not believable. Absolutely, absolutely. Saturday said, yeah, that was a bust. Yes. Okay, that's why when I have prophetic dreams and I talk to you all about my dreams, I give you very specific details. Okay, just like in 2020 when I told everybody that was following me at the time, I think Silent D was following me back then. Some of you all are newer, but back in 2020 when I said there was going to be a terroristic attack April the 20th in Nova Scotia, and then there was one. See, that's very specific. Okay, that's very specific. Queen, does age have to do with conception of heaven? My grandson was 11. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that some people, here's the thing. When I was a child, like 4 years old, and I was just talking to someone about this yesterday. When I was like 4 years old, I knew about God. I knew about, I had been told about heaven or whatever and hell. I'd heard about it in church, I think. But I knew all about God, and I knew about spiritual things. My concept of heaven was whatever I was told, basically. But at the end of the day, children understand these things. And this is the thing. This is why it's very easy for us to be indoctrinated. Because children are very capable of understanding what they're being told. And so when you start putting things in their mind at a young age, that's what they grow up, that becomes embedded in them. And so they'll believe that, and when you instill it in them as children, well, as they become adults, it's very hard for some of them to break away from that. Okay, that's why some people just don't believe all the mess. Some people don't believe, they do believe all the mess, okay? But they don't believe the real truth, because the real truth hasn't been taught to them. It's not been embedded in the subconsciousness of their minds. Silent D says, yeah, 3 years following you, Queen. Absolutely. Okay, so now I'm going to show you all this, I'm going to play for you this video where you will hear Richard Lawson describing what happened to him. Now, how many of you remember the plane crash at LaGuardia Airport in New York in 1992 that killed 27 people? How many of you remember that? Anybody remember that? That was very scary, okay? I always question religion. I was not a church favorite, says Tia. Okay? So some of you saying ones. Okay, so I'm going to pull up now. Mind you, this is like 17 minutes long, maybe 15 minutes long, I think. So I have it in two parts. I'm going to show you the first part, and then we'll go into part two.
The doors were about to close. He came on, pointed to a seat that was available in first class, 1F, and I went and sat in that row. There were two ladies there who wanted to take the seat, 6A and B, because he had blocked out, I guess, one of the seat next to me. I went and sat in 1F. And I sat there for a while, and I heard him deep icing the plane on the right side, and I started to get this sensation that I had felt before on several occasions that came over me. And when it comes over me, I mean, something is wrong. It's that innate sense in my gut. And I became very nervous. And my instinct said to get off the plane. And I didn't. I just sat there, and my mind was saying, what are you tripping on? It's nothing. They de-iced the plane. The truck went around the plane to the other side. And I was saying to myself how thorough they were on this side. Went around the back. The plane stalled. The truck stalled. The pilot came on air and said, ladies and gentlemen, we have an unusual situation here. The truck has stalled at the back of the plane, and until we get it fixed, we can't move. Be patient. Once they get it fixed, we'll give the plane a good wash down, and we'll be on our way. And for all you flap watchers, the flaps are up because we don't want to kick ice into the wings on our way to takeoff. I'm just really churning inside, and I'm paying attention to everything. And my mind is focused on what is going on because I have this fear running rampant in me about the decision to get off or not get off. And I know that if I get off, I'm not going to make the meeting. And that's what sort of made me stay. Well, the truck comes back around, sort of gives it he doesn't wash the right side at all this time. That sends me further into my sort of inner panic. We back out. They give the left side a cursory washing because I just hear it doesn't have the same complete kind of sound.
Because they're de-icing, right?
The de-icing.
Yeah, I watch for that de-icing too.
Yeah. So we're on our way down the thing, and the pilot says, there's 7 planes in front of us. It's going to take us about 10 minutes. And I'm saying, yeah, right. 10 minutes. It's going to take a half an hour. Half an hour. Well, the last time this was washed down the right side was over a half an hour ago. So that means it's going to be an hour. So my mind is, my sense says, stand up and demand to get off this plane, or go knock on the door and tell the pilot that they didn't wash the plane down properly. I didn't do that. Get down to the thing, and we're getting ready to take off, and I'm sitting there saying, oh, Jesus. The plane starts to go down the runway. He's not going fast enough. We start to lift off. I said, it's not enough speed. I don't feel that sit-down feeling that you get when you start to, it's the plane sits and rises. We don't get that. We just sort of lift off like a Piper Cub. And then the plane starts to roll and roll and roll. And I said, an expletive. And I was upset. I was angry, not because the plane was rolling. It was because I didn't listen to my inner sense. I was angry about that. Because I knew we were in a crash. I knew we were going to go down. And the plane hit once and hit a second time, and I saw this orange flash out the window. And then the plane went into kind of a nowhere's land where it was flipping, and I had no idea of where or what. But I was completely conscious the whole time. There was a moment of settling, and things were black and it was wet, and I realized that we were in the water, and I was still living, and I heard bubbles and the sound of settling, things settling on the bottom. It sort of sounded like, an old movie that I saw of a submarine landing on the bottom and settling in the bottom of the ocean. And the thoughts went through my mind of, I can't believe that I am in a plane crash. That I am in a plane crash. Okay? And I started to try to free myself, and I was trapped. There was stuff on top of me. I couldn't move. My face was pressed against whatever it was. And I struggled, and I was saying, I don't have much time, and I'm struggling. And
are you underwater now?
I'm underwater upside down. And...
But did you know that?
I knew that. I just said a sense of being upside down. I could feel that in terms of, you know. And so something said, stop struggling. I didn't want the people who loved me to feel my spirit struggle, because they would feel my spirit at some point. And one of the hardest things is for people who are behind to live here. And I snatched my seatbelt off, and I started moving the things away from me that I couldn't move. I moved the things away from me very hurriedly, because I'm oxygen deficient now. I'm 2 minutes at least down there. And I'm struggling to get to the top, or wherever, not the top, just wherever. I don't
Wherever
know.
there's air.
I don't know nothing. I'm just struggling. I have no relationship of up or down or where the water was. And what felt like my last breath of air was really my first. And then I started gasping and consuming part of the bay and jet fuel. And well, on March 22nd, I was on my way to Cleveland. I work with the NBPA, the National Basketball Players Association, their drug program, as a counselor and consultant, and I was on my way to just have a educational training program with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And there was a snowstorm coming into New York. I was supposed to fly out Monday morning. I decided to fly out Sunday night to beat the snowstorm. Snowstorm came in about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it was really coming down, and everything was delayed at the airport like hours. And so I was waiting to get on the plane. A gentleman recognized me. His name is Michael Doherty, works for United Airlines, U.S. Air. And his wife watches the show. And so he asked for an autograph, and I gave him an autograph. And he said, would you like to sit in first class? I was a flying coach. And he said, would you like to sit in first class? I said, sure. There was no seat available. So he said, well, if something comes up, I'll give it to you. So we got on the plane. I sat in 6A. The doors were about to close. He came on.
Yeah, hold on one second.
Okay. I'm sorry, I tuned out for a minute, beloved. I was doing something. I was multitasking. Okay, so pay attention to what he's saying in this video. I'm going to play part 2, but you all need to pay attention to what he's saying in this video, because I'm actually going to ask you the questions today, because don't forget, today is the trivia that you all didn't get Friday. So I'm going to ask you questions based off of the videos, okay? So I hope you all listened to that first one, because the reason I was preoccupied is because I was writing down the questions that I'm going to ask. Pay attention. Okay, so now let's get on to part 2. I think you all heard me talking in the background of that one too, because I was recording it while I was talking to somebody. But anyway, let me get on to part 2.
The other side of the plane. And all of a sudden, the fire from the plane lit up, just like if you put a match to an oven that has a built-up amount of gas. It went up like that. And I said, I felt that the plane was going to explode then. And I heard voices underneath the metal parts of the plane, low, controlled voices, like people were trying to helping people. But I knew that we had to get out of there. So we tried to go over the top of the plane, and that's when I saw how far the shore was. But all of that was like jagged pieces of metal that were like razor blades. So you couldn't go that way because you'd get cut up. You'd get killed or whatever. So we jumped in the water. I got in the water, and this person said, it's not that deep. You can walk. So we walked. running in the water, walking to the shore, right? I got to the shore. He helped me up on the ledge. And I turned around, and the person started walking back to the plane. And I don't know. All I can say is that it was just such a, as I reflect on it, it was such a strange kind of, I don't remember what that person looked like. I couldn't tell you what the face looked like. But just the whole behavior of it was like, that was my higher power. Or my higher power is working through this person. Now, here's an irony. I'm in 6A. I get moved to 1F. The FAA comes and they question me about it and what my version is of it, and I tell them. And I say I was sitting at 6A. I said, what happened to the ladies that sat there? They said, no one sat in those seats. So you sure? Yeah, no one sat in those seats. So I went on thinking that, well, even if I had sat in 6A, that possibly I could have lived. The first death took place on the other row, on the other side of the row, 6F, as far as I knew. Well, a month ago, I got a call from a young lady named Kendra, and said, hi, do you remember meeting me? And I said, we were the two ladies who were going to sit in your seats. I said, really? She said, yeah. As a matter of fact, I sat in 6A, and I didn't like the window, so my friend took 6A, and I took 6B. She died. And I lived with injuries, but I lived. And I said, wow, there's so much about this that is just incredible in terms of how the maze of life works.
What happened to the person who got you out of the water and turned and walked back to the plane?
That's the last of I saw of that person. I have no idea who that is. I have no idea who that is.
Male? Female?
Male. I have no idea.
And so why do you think you lived?
Well, part of the interesting...
Because, 27 other people died?
27 people died, 18 people drowned, 24 people lived, and I talked to a number of the people and saw a thing that this gentleman on NBC did for Primetime Live, which was a wonderful reenactment. Mm-hmm. It was scary how close he got. And a lot of people say the same thing, that we all got to a point to where we were going on the other side, and through some process of decision, decided that we would come back this way. Because the aspect of being in a crash and being down, you're in a crash, you've gone through the experience, and everything. And like an old man told me a long time ago, every goodbye ain't gone. So somewhere in that process, there is always, through whatever energy sources, for you to overcome that. Overcome whatever it is. And I believe that to be not only in this situation, but I mean, poverty, whatever.
But it's so interesting. It's something that you said that really struck me, because I think so often in life, the life experience is about surrendering your own personal power to a power greater than yourself.
Absolutely.
And so when you said that, the voice or whatever said to you, give up the struggle.
Right.
It is the ability, it's like in the Bible where it says, be still and know that I am God. It's the ability to give up the struggle that really gives you the power.
That's exactly it.
I thought so.
Well, I say that because, well, go ahead.
Well, when we come back, we'll talk to Cynthia about the increased psychic power she experiences since her near-death experience. We'll be back in a minute. Yes.
Okay. So with that all being said, very interesting turn of events. All right, hold on for 1 second, beloveds. Hold on just a second. Okay, I had to open up another tab because, as I told you, the chat is frozen, so I can't see your comments. Okay, so I had to open up another tab so I can see your comments. Okay, I hate when this happens. And the reason I can't see your comments on my phone like I would on the other channel is because this is a members only live. And so my phone is not going to be able to see the chat because I'm not a member of the channel. Pay attention. Okay, I can see it on the computer because it's my channel. All I have to do is go into the studio. Okay, so with that all being said, are y'all ready for the trivia of it all? Well, I hope you are. Let me pull up my email where the answer should be sent to. Okay, let me just pull up this email where the answer should be sent to. All right, so I see somebody said it was repeated. Yeah, unfortunately, like I said, I tuned out for a minute while you all were listening, and I was getting the questions together for the trivia. Okay? So anyway, with that all being said, Claudette says, I truly believe that. Okay? So, let's go ahead and get into this trivia. Now, all answers must go in the chat. I'm sorry. In the email. Okay? All answers must be sent to my email. Let me pull up the stopwatch. Okay, you're going to have 20 seconds on the clock. I'm going to say the question only one time, and then you must send your answers in. Now, mind you, I've already given you all the heads up that the questions were on the first video. Okay, so are y'all ready? Are y'all going to disappoint the queen again? Are y'all going to disappoint the queen again? Because I hope not. Okay? Sana D said, get ready, everyone. I know that's right. Okay? I know that's right. Okay? Myth King the Dean said, I had something really memorable as a child. Really? Okay. In a dream that took 40 years, says the Myth King the Dean. I cannot. The Most High was with him. Yes, absolutely, Lana. Absolutely. So let me tell you all something. Once in the chat, if you went through a near-death experience and you saw that you were able to come back or go on into the light, what would you do? Once in the chat, if you would go towards the light and just leave this world. If you would go towards the light, once in the chat, but if you would stay and want to come back and return, put 2s in the chat. I'm just curious. Miss Hotel talking about it's trivia time. Okay? Once in the chat, if you would go towards the light. 2, if you would come back. Honey, talking about 3. Honey, 3 is not even an option. Sit down somewhere. Okay? A lot of people are putting 1s. I don't believe y'all. I don't believe y'all. Y'all know y'all some little liars. Tia said you honestly don't know. Now that makes sense, Tia beloved. That makes sense. The rest of y'all talking about 1s. I don't believe y'all. I do not believe it. Y'all would literally leave here, leave your family, your loved ones, your friends, and all of that and just go away. Is the world that bad? Of course it is. Of course it is. Now, I'm going to tell you like this. Hunya said, it depends. Okay. I don't want to come back here, says Nessie X. Andrew said, Queen, I'm serious. Okay, beloved, I believe you. Maybe all of y'all are serious. Kathy B said it really is. Well, I'm going to tell you like this. I'm not ready to go. Okay? I'm not ready to go. I'm not afraid to go, but I'm not ready. I feel like I haven't done my biggest, greatest work. I feel like I haven't put myself in a position that when I leave here, people will remember me. Okay, I don't feel like I've done that yet. Until I feel like I've done that, I'm not ready to go. So, with that all being said, I have more work to do is all I'm saying. I'm not ready to leave here until I have done my work. And here's the thing. I had a near-death experience one time. Now, it was nothing drastic like Richard's, but it was near-death. I literally had fluid in my lungs, and I couldn't breathe. And earlier that day, we'll get the trivia started in just a second, but let me just tell you the story. So, earlier that day, I was wheezing. Like, I literally really was having a hard time catching a breath. Okay? But I thought, maybe I just need to lay down and I'll feel better. So I laid down and it got worse. So I waited a couple of hours because I was doing some work, and I was like, I really don't want to go to the hospital. You know how some people hate to go to the hospital? I really didn't want to go to the hospital, and I was like, maybe I'll start feeling better eventually. So I sat there wheezing, trying to do my work, and then eventually I just couldn't take it anymore. I actually had to call the ambulance. And so when the ambulance got there, it was so bad that the man on the ambulance was holding my hand. I'll never forget. Okay, it was a Caucasian man. He was holding my hand, and he kept saying to me, Miss Shakur, do not fall asleep. Because I was getting very tired. The energy was leaving my body. I was very, very sleepy. I wanted so bad to just close my eyes and go to sleep. And he kept saying, do not go to sleep. I'm going to talk to you all the way to the hospital. Okay, I may be annoying, but I'm going to keep talking to you and asking you questions. And I said, why can't I just go to sleep? He said, because if you do, you won't wake up. Okay, that's what he told me. He said, if you do, you just may not wake up. And, because the energy was leaving my body. And see, that's the thing. If you know anyone that's had a near-death experience, they'll tell you that they started to feel very tired. Just like so tired, it's almost inexplicable. And the reason you start to feel so tired is because the energy is leaving your body. That's how you know this body is just a shell. It's an avatar, okay? It's just something that encompasses your spirit, which will live on forever. The energy was leaving. That's because my spirit was ready to leave. I want you to pay attention. So when I got to the hospital, I was lying on the gurney, and by this time, it was very much so difficult to breathe. And I couldn't lay down. I kept trying to sit up. And the nurses kept telling me, no, lay down, lay down. And I kept saying, I'm trying to tell them I can't really talk at this point because that's how out of breath I am, or how hard it was for me to catch a breath. And I'm like trying to tell them that I can't lay down. Because when I laid down, it seemed as if I was being smothered. Like someone was literally holding my nose and mouth closed. So I couldn't catch a breath. And so then they finally took me into a room. And I kept trying to sit up, and so this lady finally says, one of the nurses realized what I was trying to relate to them, and she says, oh my goodness, she can't lay down because she feels like she's been smothered. And then so they went and got a CPAP machine, and they came back and brought it, and they put it over my face, and I just took a deep breath, and I passed out. I had to have passed out because I don't remember anything after that. But while I was passed out, I do remember it seemed like a dream, where I was sitting above myself in the ceiling, looking at myself. And then I looked up over the ceiling and I saw clouds. And I started rising up and up like I was going into the clouds. And I was like, wait a minute, am I going into the spiritual realm? Am I going to heaven? Like, what's going on? This is what I'm thinking, right? And so I'm like, no, I'm not ready to go, Most High. Please don't take me. I'm not ready to go. Please let me live so I can go home to my sons. And so slowly, I started descending back to the earth because I was like levitating up towards the clouds. And then so I started descending slowly back down to the earth. And then I woke up, the sun was shining through the window, and my doctor was standing right there beside me, and she said, we almost lost you. And she said, you had fluid in your lungs. Now, mind you, at this point, I couldn't say anything in response because I still had the thing breathing for me. Okay, I still had that CPAP machine over my face helping me to breathe. But that was very scary. And one of the most scariest feelings that I ever have experienced is the lack of being able to take a breath. Okay, of not being able to catch your breath. Imagine someone drowning and their lungs filling with water. That's how it felt. Because I literally had fluid in my lungs. So I want you all to pay attention. It's not a joke. Myth King the D said, peacefully and free. We were created to serve and worship the Most High. Think about it. What other creatures could worship and be in reverence by choice of knowing the goodness? Absolutely, Reggie. Absolutely. So Tia says, me too, Queen. Yeah, so I'm here to tell you, The first people I thought about was my family. I wouldn't leave yet, says Emma's Blessed. Exactly. That's what I was thinking about too. I was thinking all kinds of things. I was thinking, who's going to take care of my sons? You know, who's going to take care of them? You know, and I thought about how they would feel if I'm no longer here. And I just thought about things like that. So that's why I wasn't ready to go. Wasn't ready. So with that all being said, let's get ready for the trivia. I hope y'all got y'all's answers in your little heads. Now here's the first question, and here's the thing. These questions are fairly easy because you literally got them from the live that I just did. Now we'll find out who was really paying attention or no. Okay? We'll find out who was really paying attention or no. Okay? Mr. Hotel said, all I can say is wow. And that's another thing, Mr. Hotel. That's another thing, honey. I didn't want to come back because I knew that I was going to have the loyal royals. Pay attention. Of course, I didn't know that. But I am glad that I chose to come back because here's the thing. This is some of my work that I'm supposed to do. I'm literally doing my work right now. You see, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And there's some other things that I need to do too that I'm working on. But I'm not leaving until those things are done. Pay attention. All right, so now with that all being said, first question, y'all get on your marks, get ready, set. Okay, so in the first part of the interview, Richard Lawson said that he got on the plane, right? And he said that he had to leave his seat, or he didn't have to, but he chose to leave his seat to go sit in another seat, okay? Because they offered him to go sit in first class because he was in coach. Now, what seat was he initially sitting in? That's the first part. And what seat did he move to? That's the second part. Two-part questions. Clock starts now. Come on, y'all can do it. You got 15 seconds. Miss Hotel said, not the loyal royals. Reggie said, I'm good. I'm going to answer in my heart in case because my emails don't come through. Okay. Reggie says, exactly, Queen. The Most High knows the desires of the heart. Mr. Hotel said, I know that's right, Queen. Honey, I done gave y'all too much time. Okay? I'm sitting up here reading the chat. Time's up. I gave y'all 33 seconds. Accidentally. But let's see. That should have been okay. Patsy McElvin. All right, Tia. All right, hold on. Y'all got y'all's answers in. Now let's see who got the right answers. Okay? Somebody said 6A and 1F. Somebody said 6B and 1F. Well, the answer is 6A and 1F. Okay? That's the answer. Patsy McKelvey got it. Ha! Mr. Hotel. Mr. Hotel, I'm about to kick you out of here. Mr. Hotel sent me an email saying F around and find out. So nefarious. Oh my goodness, I absolutely cannot with you, honey. But anyway, I digress. So let me send Patsy her book. This hotel is so nefarious. Pay attention. Okay, so get ready for the next question while I'm sending this out. Royal reminders to guide your spirit daily. That's what I'm sending you, Patsy. Hope you enjoy it. All right, so now here comes the next question. All right, I just sent your ebook. Congratulations again. Now, here's the second question. I'm going to kick Mr. Hotel out of here talking about F around and find out. Okay, now here is the next question. This is two parts. The first part is, no, I'm sorry, I'm just going to give y'all one part so you have time to get your answer in quicker. Okay, why did Richard Lawson say that he was angry? Why did he say he was angry? Clock starts now. $15 seconds. Let's see what y'all got. Come on, you got 5 seconds left. Y'all can do it. I'm going to give y'all a few more seconds. Time's up. 30 seconds I gave you all. Let me see if anybody sent in the answer. Nobody sent the answer. Okay? Well, the reason Richard said he was angry is because he didn't listen to his inner self. See, I've told you that numerous of times that you have to be listening to your intuition, your gut feeling. Okay? You have to listen to your instincts. This is how the Most High communicates with us. You see, Richard didn't listen to his gut feeling. Now, in hindsight, he saw that he should have, because he almost lost his life. And he was so concerned about getting to that meeting. But honey, if you lose your life, you're not going to get to any meetings anywhere except the meeting in the spiritual realm. Pay attention. So with that all being said, always listen to your gut instincts. Let this be a lesson to all of you. And I have found in life that whenever I do not or have not listened to my instincts, things went wrong. That's why I listen to them now. Okay? And so let's restart the clock. And here's your third question. Here's your third question. Now, after the crash, where did Richard end up? What part of the plane was he in? Clock starts now. 20 seconds. And I trust that someone will win this because it's easy. Okay? It's easy. Okay, I'm going to give y'all 5 more seconds. And then time's up. Okay, time is up. That's 25 seconds on the clock. Let me see what I got here. Somebody said the roof. Not the roof. No, that's not where he was. He was actually in the luggage compartments. Okay? He was in the luggage compartments. Now, here's the last question, and this one is easy. This one is easy. If y'all don't get this, I'm going to throw y'all out of here. I'm going to kick y'all out of my members. I'm going to kick y'all out of the, take back y'all's memberships. Have to revoke it. Okay, so here is the last and final question. You got 20 seconds on the clock. I'm only going to say it once. Pay attention. The last question is, what did a small, still voice tell Richard to do? Clock starts now. This should be so easy. Mr. Hotel said, not getting kicked out the spiritual zone. Okay, time is up. I actually gave you guys 25 seconds. Let's see what you all have. Okay. Someone said give him his hand. No, that's incorrect. That's incorrect. Now, he did say, beloved, he did say that someone said give me your hand, but that was a person, the same person who supposedly led him to shore. which in fact I don't think it was a person at all. I think it was an apparition of a spirit, maybe one of his ancestors or his guardian angel, or his spirit guide. That's what I think, because remember, he said once he made it to the shore, the person turned around and went back towards the plane. And why would they do that when the rescue people were already there? So, and then he couldn't remember their face, what they looked like. So that wasn't what the small still voice told him. The small still voice told him to stop struggling. You see, he was struggling. He was frantic, likely. Because just imagine, the plane crashes and you realize you're upside down in water, strapped in a seatbelt, and you're in the luggage compartment. So all of this luggage and stuff is all around you. And you're like trapped. So the first thing that most people would do is to freak out, to become frantic. And you start trying to get loose and you're just going crazy. See, the voice told him to stop struggling. You see, when you stop struggling, you can think logically. Once he stopped struggling, he simply unfastened his seatbelt and rose to the surface. See, if you struggle, you'll find that in life, sometimes the more you struggle, the harder it is to break free. Okay? The harder it is to break free. So that was the answer. The voice told him to stop struggling. Okay? Like in the Bible, when Oprah told him what it said in the Bible, and also in the Bible it says, peace, be still. Okay? Calm down. That's all I'm saying. So with that all being said, High Kicks to your teeth said, I knew the answer, but I'm in the freaking car. Oh, I'm so sorry, beloved. Okay? Nessa G said, I don't think it was a person either. I think it was a spirit. Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. And let me tell you all something. Alice Child said, always listen to your instincts no matter what. That's right. Okra needed to sit down, funny looking self, says Mr. Hotel. Mr. Hotel sitting up here quoting Wig on my authentic spiritual channel. Mr. Hotel, I absolutely cannot. So, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude the broadcast, but listen, I hope that you all got something out of this, and I hope you look forward to the one we're going to have tomorrow, because this is going to be part 2. Tomorrow is going to be even more salacious, because I'm going to have more, it's going to be even more juicy, because I'm going to have more accounts of people who had near-death experiences. Okay? It's going to be interesting, so make sure you tune in. And I appreciate you all for paying attention. You may not have had the exact right answers, but the answers that those of you who sent in did give that show that you were listening, okay? So kudos to you for that. Please pay attention, and, you have to look for details in things, okay? See, and the reason, and here's the thing, the reason I give you all these questions based off of the lives sometimes isn't just for you to watch the lives, because sometimes it is, but you're already in here, so you're already watching it. But the reason I do that is because at the end of the day, I want you to start paying attention to detail. You see, that's very important. That's a very important skill to have, to be very observant, to pay attention to detail. Paying attention to detail could absolutely save your life or the life of someone else one day. Okay? So that's why I ask you these things. And also, because sometimes, we think that we're paying attention and we're really not. Sometimes our minds wander and things like that. Okay? And sometimes we think we're listening, but we're not. There's a difference between listening and hearing. Okay? I just want y'all to be cognizant of that. So with that all being said, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives.